All right, let's talk about something anyone who's used AWS has thought about. You've got all these incredible services running, right? But how in the world do you protect the data across every single one of them? Well, it can get messy, fast. Today, we're going to break down the one service built to solve this exact problem, AWS Backup. To really get our heads around this, let's think about it like this. Imagine AWS Backup is the master recipe book for all of your data. If you're in the kitchen and you totally burn a pizza, or in our world, your data gets corrupted, you don't panic. You just grab the recipe book, find the right page, and you can recreate that pizza perfectly. We're going to stick with this idea, this recipe book, to guide us through. So let's crack open this master recipe book. If we put the kitchen analogy aside for just a second, what is AWS Backup, really? At its heart, it's a single service that does two things incredibly well. It centralizes and it automates. It's the one place you need to go to set up all your backup rules and to keep an eye on all your backup jobs. It doesn't matter where that data lives, it's all managed from one spot. It's all about making data protection simple. So what ingredients can we actually use in our recipes? Well, AWS Backup works with a whole bunch of the foundational AWS services. We're talking your EC2 instances, your EBS volumes, your databases like RDS and DynamoDB, your file systems like EFS and FSX, even your on-premise data through Storage Gateway. It's a really solid list that covers pretty much all the core stuff you'd build with. Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. Let's look inside this recipe book and check out the rules and chapters that make it so powerful. These core features are what it's all about. First off, centralized management. And honestly, this is a game changer. Instead of having to jump between like 5 different service consoles to manage your backups, you got one single dashboard. One place to see it all, manage it all, and monitor it all. It just makes life so much easier. Next up, automated scheduling. This is where you actually get to write the recipe. You create these backup policies that say, okay, back up this stuff, do it this often, and keep the backup for this long. You set it up once, and it just runs on its own. It takes all the manual work and the risk of human error right out of the equation. And of course, security is absolutely critical. AWS Backup makes sure that all of your stored recipes, your backup data, are encrypted and totally secure. This isn't just for peace of mind, It's crucial for meeting any of those strict regulatory and compliance rules your company has to follow. And now for a huge feature when it comes to disaster recovery. You can automatically copy your backups to completely different AWS regions or even to different AWS accounts. So what does that mean? It means if a whole region has a problem, you've got a safe, totally isolated copy of your data ready to go. It's pretty much like keeping a copy of your recipe book in a fireproof safe in another city. Okay, so we get the recipe book, we get how it works. Now, what can we actually make with it? Let's look at a few really common real-world situations where it shines. When you boil it down, it's a star in 3 key areas. First, for protecting all your stuff that lives entirely in the cloud. Second, it's perfect for businesses that have a mix of data, some on-prem and some in the cloud. And third, for any organization that has to prove they're following all the data protection rules. Let's zoom in on that hybrid scenario for a sec, because it's a big one. Lots of companies still have data in their own data centers, but they're also using AWS. AWS Backup can actually reach out, usually with some help from Storage Gateway, and protect that on-prem data too. This gives you one single way to back everything up, both on-site and in the cloud. It just bridges that gap perfectly. So picture this. Everything's running smoothly. Your data is getting backed up like clockwork. You're feeling good. And then a kitchen mishap. Someone accidentally drops a whole database on the floor, or a server just gets completely corrupted. What do you do now? This is where that recipe book really proves its worth. The recovery process is incredibly simple. First, the bad thing happens. Second, you just go into the AWS Backup console, find the right recipe, the backup point you need, and you click Restore. And then third, AWS just automatically rebuilds that resource for you. The whole thing is designed to be quick, reliable, and get you back up and running with as little downtime as possible. All right, for all of you out there studying for an AWS certification, listen up. Let's boil this all down to the chef's notes. These are the essential tips you absolutely have to remember for the exam. Tip number 1, and if you remember nothing else, please remember these 2 words: automated and centralized. Seriously, these are the core reasons AWS Backup exists, and you can bet they'll pop up in exam questions. Second tip, Know that its real power comes from how many different services it works with. An exam might throw you a scenario question about protecting data across RDS, EBS, and EFS all at once. AWS Backup is the service that ties them all together. Tip number 3, don't sleep on the security aspect. That built-in encryption and its ability to help you meet compliance standards are key selling points. You have to understand that it's not just about making copies of data, it's about making secure and compliant copies. And finally, tip number 4, and this is so important. A backup is completely useless if you can't restore from it. You have to grasp that AWS Backup is built around a simple, reliable, and fast recovery process. That's the endgame. That's the whole point of the service. So to bring it all home, AWS Backup really is the master recipe book of your AWS kitchen. It's what makes sure that no matter what kind of mishap happens, your most valuable creation, your data, is always safe and can be recreated perfectly, right when you need it. And that just leaves one final thought for you to take away. As you're working on your own projects or studying for that exam, just ask yourself, what is the master recipe for protecting your critical data? Thanks for watching.